Ciao a tutti. This is Prof. Joe at Prof. Joe Explains. And tonight we're going to look into the case of Mackenzie Shirilla, who I think everyone on this call or on this video will know. She's the teenager who drove her Toyota Camry about 100 miles an hour into a brick wall, killing her two passengers. She never veered. She accelerated right into the wall. She was convicted of murder, sentenced to 15 years. She's serving her sentence now. And I think some of you have seen lives and videos that she's not, let us say, a model example of a prisoner. She's not the very model of a model major prisoner. Anyway, we're very delighted to have with us tonight Dominic's older sister, Christine Russo, and I'm going to bring her right on so that we can get right into this live.
Hi, Joe.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I know that, or at least I believe I know that you consider this kind of a mission and maybe a mission of love, but it's also got to be incredibly hard to keep talking about it and reliving what happened. Was he the baby in the family?
Yes, he was. I was 13 years older. I'm one of 7, and he was the baby.
Yeah, that's even harder. I mean, babies get spoiled, I think.
Yeah, and not get all the love and attention, and he had us wrapped around his fingers.
And everybody has a little more time by then, The other kids are older, and so the older kids have time to play with the youngest.
Yep.
It's really terrible.
Yep.
So I don't know exactly where you want to start. Do you want to talk about? I mean, everybody on this call knows the general facts of the case. There's no question. Mm-hmm. So I can let you start, or I can start with a couple of questions, whatever is your preference.
You go right on ahead. Yeah.
Okay. And if you have anything to add, anything you want to say, feel free, interrupt. I mean, I have a tendency to do that. Mm-hmm. I try to control myself, but it's very hard to get excited about saying something else. And, so feel free to interrupt and don't let anything go by that you really want to say.
Okay.
So I think I wanted to start with, how well did you know, or do you know Mackenzie?
Honestly, I didn't know her that well, but coming and going. Like I said, Dom was about 13 years older than, or 13 years younger than me. And yes, she'd been over and I've hung out with her. We've been to dinners and things like that. But on like a personal level, like we never hung out like as like sister-in-laws would or anything like that. But yeah, we went to dinners and things like that, but not as much as, I don't know, like my other sister-in-laws, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Did she strike you as a little odd?
The first time I met her, I really just remember she came over to meet the family, and she had on a tiny little tank top with her belly hanging out, and she just looked skimpy to me. She didn't say hi to me. She didn't say hi to my brother's friends, you know what I'm saying? And just kind of was rude, I guess, and not respectful the first time we met her. And then from then on, she was just, I'm very intimidating as well. Like a lot of my brother's girlfriends, I intimidate the girlfriends completely. And my son, actually, he gives me a hard time about that as well. He'll never be able to have a girlfriend, he says, because no one's good enough for me. But I am weary of girls, and I wish I would have gotten to know her a little bit better because, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have any sense of what the attraction was for Dom with her?
She actually chased Dom for quite some time, and I think he finally gave in after a while. It was really his first girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Maybe he dated here and there a little bit, but nobody he brought home like her, you know what I'm saying? I guess she was cute, they were young. And I don't know if you've ever been in like a toxic relationship, but I don't know if it started right away. It might have took some time in that relationship. And that's just speculation. I'm not sure when it started exactly, but I just, they were young and she was cute, I think.
He was about 3 years older than she. Is that right? Was that the age difference?
About 2 years and 9 months, I think.
Okay.
Something like
Not
that.
a big age difference, really. I mean, some of these reports made it sound as though, he was much older. And when I looked, I thought, gee, this is really not a whole lot, a
No,
whole lot
people
of
on the internet I've heard 19 and 13, I've heard 19 and 12. People make it out to be like a gross thing. I think she was a freshman and he was a junior, which is completely normal. It's not
Right.
at all, but people have really made it so weird, and it's actually, that's one of the things that really irritate me.
When did they start having a romantic relationship?
Like how old, or
Yeah. Or how long they'd known each other before, or what year, it occurred.
if he was a junior and he passed when he was 20, he must have been 15-ish, 16-ish.
And she was 13, 14, somewhere in
Turning
there then.
14. Yeah, maybe like
Yeah.
a 15, like a 13, 15, 14, 16, something for a minute. And then they were friends for a long time, I think, before it was
Yeah. What did he move out? Was he on his own at the time, that he was dating her, or was he still at home?
He was at home. So the house that he was living in is owned by his mother. So he wasn't out by himself, but living in his mom's house.
Okay, and then there are reports that she moved in with him. Did she move into that house?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And was it separate from the rest of the family, or was she living with him in a house where everybody else was there too?
Separate. There's two houses
next
to each other. So this one was separate.
And if what did her parents think about this? I know what my parents would have thought, but
I know. I don't think they cared. Oh, they just thought that everything that she did was wonderful. I really think I don't know if they saw him as an opportunity or just for her to do well. I don't know, but I would never let my daughter at that age move in with a man. Never.
Yeah.
So
what I saw part of the Netflix documentary, just part, because I don't have Netflix, and then I've seen some interviews that both her father and mother have given in the last few months, actually, and they seem to me, odd is the best word I have for all of this. They seem to me just off. Did you know them at all during the time that Dom was dating her or had a romantic relationship with her?
I had met them. My sister actually, they babysat her kids. I had met them. I wasn't close to them. But yeah, the behavior, I'd agree when you said odd completely,
Yeah.
but I didn't really know them much. I saw them after the crash, because for a little while I thought it was an accident, and they came over my home with her, and I got.
Tell us about that. I heard you describe that before, but why don't you describe it in case anybody here did not hear that story?
So when the crash first happened, there were several of us who did not know certain things had perspired. And so several of us had thought it was an accident just based off of, I don't know, my brain still sometimes has a hard time comprehending that somebody took my brother's life on purpose. To this day, I just have a hard time, the concept, even that he's gone, is hard for me.
Yeah.
So there was a couple months where I thought it was an accident. He would have been 21 about 6 weeks after he had passed. So we had a big heavenly birthday at my house with the family and things. And she came in a wheelchair with her parents and her sister. I kept my distance, but she was there. And then I don't know. I guess it started to all come together for me, but it took some time to comprehend for me.
Didn't you say? I think I heard this. That the original information that you'd gotten is her mother's name Natalie?
Yeah.
Gotten from Natalie was that Mackenzie was in a coma or was unconscious at the hospital, and
Yep. That was one of the things that was, when it started to come together that this was on purpose. That was one of the things, because when the crash first happened, I was up. I have a house up on an island, and I'm up on an island. We rush home. we're all together, and we're kind of, we're dying to know what happened. You know what I'm saying? It's just all these questions. What happened? And then, like, what happened? And also, the only person that we have to talk to is Natalie, that's there with her at the hospital. And we just kept getting, she's unconscious. We don't know if she's going to make it. She's not waking up. Honestly, we thought she was going to die for days. And that was not the case. It was a long time before she said she was up. And come to find out, then that's when I started seeing, like, my cousins, obviously my whole family's coming in and out. We're Italian. People are bringing stuff. A couple of my cousins were like, Christine, she's on Instagram posting to get modeling gigs. Or Christine, she's making TikToks. I thought you said she wasn't awake. I said, I don't know. I thought that's what we were being told. So then things started to come together. But yeah, she lied and said that she was unconscious for days, like 4 days or something like that.
Do you have any guess as to why her mother would be telling you that? It seems to me to be, what are you talking about? Motiveless.
Corroborating. I think they were getting their story straight. That's what I think. Getting their whatever they were going to tell. And even when she looks at the police officer, when he comes to bring her phone, and she looks at the police officer and says, or she says to her mom, she asks in that pig Latin, that gypsy talk, the carny talk, she says to her, can I just tell him I had a seizure or something? So it was just very much corroborating a story, right away.
Now, you were out of the home. Dom's much younger. And I hear you say that, you didn't have regular contact, but did you or anybody in the family start hearing from him that the relationship was maybe toxic and he wanted out?
Yeah, there's a ton of people. Dominic had a very, close siblings, and closer like to age, and whom he shared these type of things with. He had best friends. He has a lot of best friends. A lot of people loved him. Everybody loved him. So there was quite a few people that were, helping him try to move on and get rid of her even. Quite a few people, actually. Things he shared details like that with, and then people that were like actively like, giving him advice to move on and get rid of her.
And you said Dominic. Do you prefer Dominic for him? Is that what you call him at home?
We call them Nooch. So Dominic. Yep.
Yeah, I know it's Dominuch. I know where you get that. Well, yep. I won't do that. I'll call him Dominic then.
Yep.
Do you know what kind of advice they were giving him to extricate himself?
It was just, he has a really good group of friends and family, obviously, that are level-headed. Dom was very level-headed and very mature for his age. He was an old soul, very mature for his age. And he had huge goals and was motivated and he had his thing going. Like he was going to do big things. And every day he wanted to better himself, and he was finding ways every single day to better himself. He had it together at a young age. And so, the conversations that I've heard firsthand through like his closest friends and things were, he just wanted to get rid of her. It was becoming toxic. Certain things had happened, fighting here and there. They saw this, they saw that. There's a ton of stuff. I've heard a ton of things. And a lot of his friends would live with that regret, and family that they live with that regret that they didn't help sooner, or, didn't think that this would actually happen type of thing. It's terrible.
Yeah, though, those getting out of those relationships can be really tough. I had a psychologist who works in this area on a few weeks ago, and I asked her, are there signs that you could tell your child, stay away? And she said, really not. My advice is, go do a records check, look into their background, investigate their parents. That's kind of a tough thing to be saying to family members when somebody young in your family wants to date someone. We're going to treat this person as though this person is a potential,
weirdo.
Yeah. But she said, short of that, it's once you're in, it can be really tough.
Yeah, we can give kids warning signs. That's one of the things I wanted to do with my podcast, is give warning signs, right? And as much though as we give warning signs, it's not going to stop somebody from dating someone. Unfortunately, like I always compare it to depression, is being in a toxic relationship is kind of like a depression where you don't know you're in it until you're out of it. And you're just completely blinded. There's not much anybody can do. There's really nothing that people can do to get people out of these relationships. You can look up their past as much as you want. But, if people are young and in love and stupid and in love, then it's really hard to get out of those.
Yeah. Had she been living back with her parents at the time that the crash happened, or were they still in the house together?
They were still in the house.
So his efforts to try to extricate himself did not succeed in having her leave the house.
I think she had left a couple of times or a few times maybe, but at that time she was back. And what I really think happened, and again, I don't know, but what I think happened that morning was that it was just another one of them times where he was like, go home, leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? And then she just couldn't take it. I think that it was happening, you know what I'm saying? And she knew he was getting ready to leave, and that was kind of like the last straw. That's what I think happened. I think he was kind of like...
You know why he and his friend Davion got in the car with her? Were they going somewhere? Were they coming back from somewhere?
They left a little get together and they were going back to Dom's house. And the thing about that is that everyone calls, well, some people the misinformation online too is that the street that she turned on was a cut through. Yes, it's a cut through, but it's a longer route to where they were going. There was no reason why she should have taken that street at 5:00 in the morning. There's nothing down there. And it wasn't a shortcut to Dom's house. So you'll hear some people with their misinformation, oh no, that was a cut through. Or her parents, that was a cut through, it was a common cut through. Yeah, but it wasn't a cut through to Dom's. It was a longer route. There was no reason they were driving on that street. I'm going to give you a chance. Is there information out there that particularly annoys you because it's inaccurate that you want to talk about and correct? The age was a big one. That right there about the cut through. And I could tell you facts. I could tell people facts all day and misinformation, but you would have to drive the road. If you drove the road, there wouldn't be any questions in your mind. The road is a very windy, bumpy road. It's a whole zigzag with humongous potholes, So that's what the prosecutor did the first day before the trial started. They took the judge to the road so she could feel it herself, you know what I'm saying? Because right then and there, that she couldn't have been passed out. Their whole defense is debunked right there. She just lied and said that she didn't remember anything and that she had this POTS, but you cannot make it down that street with your eyes closed, let alone unconscious. Which is ridiculous. That's a big one. So if you drove the street, you know what I'm saying. You can't make it to the end, let alone going 100 miles an hour. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Let me just interrupt for the chat. For anybody who doesn't know, the reason why it was the judge that went out and looked at the scene, it was a bench trial. There was no jury. So the judge was going to be the fact finder. And so you've seen other trials where they may take a road trip and take the jury out. In this case, the judge was the fact finder. Excuse me.
No, go ahead. But that is right now off the top of my head. And there's more, but I don't know.
Well, if you have it, we've got people in the chat who are in other chats and will help to circulate the corrected information.
Yeah, let me think.
Okay.
I'll think of some.
All right. Or we can go on. If you think of something, just stop me and and then we'll do it. Of course, there's the accident reconstructionist and the black box both show she never tried to brake.
Correct.
And the claim that she had fainted or lost control because of the POTS. Every expert that I saw on the subject said that would mean she would have taken her foot off the accelerator. You're not going to be able to continue to keep pressure on the pedal if you've passed out or if you're having some sort of seizure. So none of the evidence supported her story.
And another thing is, like, everybody else wants to say that it wasn't like a fair trial or that she wasn't given an opportunity for her medical records. She had a fair trial. They had every opportunity to cross-examine or, present whatever they had. The one thing though, is that they never presented, there wasn't any, because there's not any evidence that she had POTS prior. I think that was asked, it was one of the questions asked in trial, like, do you have a record of her having any type of episode or any diagnosis of POTS or anything, and it was not presented. I don't think it exists. They say, I've heard them try to say it does, but where's it at? It does not. I don't think it exists.
Well,
It
if they
doesn't.
had it, if she was under physician's care for it, they would have had a doctor that they could have called.
Absolutely. And
Right.
they had every opportunity to get, I think there was a medical expert, but I can't recall. I heard, like, I don't think that they could have gotten somebody to go on the stand and lie for them.
Mhm.
You know, they
So
couldn't find a
there's a
doctor to do that.
question here from Dorothy W. Is the Carney language used by the Shirilla family unique to them, or is it common in your part of the country?
It is uncommon. Actually, during the trial, I wish they would have been able to crack the language during the trial, because that would have just sealed the deal even more because of the things that they were saying in that language. They couldn't even find an interpreter. The prosecutor for Cuyahoga County, you know, nobody could find, even the staff, no one could find an interpreter to interpret this language, you know, with all the resources that they have. It wasn't until after the trial somebody had cracked it. I actually know a man who owns a carnival. He's never even heard of it. And I had one friend of mine say that their parents talk it to hide what they're talking about. I have never heard it. It's not anything like that has to do with your ethnicity or your location. It's definitely not from around where we're from whatsoever.
Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting because it was language that she was mother and daughter were talking to each other. And that begs the question, why did they have a secret language that they used either with, maybe with the father also, but maybe I don't know the record clearly enough, but I never saw anything where he used this.
No.
Yeah.
Neither have I, and I've always been under the assumption that he does not speak it, which makes it even weirder to me. I find that super odd, and it's literally a language, so other people don't know what you're talking about. I just find it very odd, and that just is just them two.
So talk to me a little, the Netflix documentary. I've seen reports that you and your family are unhappy with at least parts of it. I've also seen reports that say Mackenzie and her family are unhappy with parts of it. Where do you think the documentary got it wrong?
I'm not unhappy with it. I like the production. I like Netflix. I'm unhappy that it happened to begin with. I'm unhappy that I have to, you know, talk about my brother being dead. Not that I don't mind talking about my brother. I'm upset that he's dead and that it's a thing even. So it wasn't so much that I was upset with Netflix or the production company or anything. I thought they did a fair job. They were to remain neutral, you know, and they stuck with their word. Now all of a sudden the Shirillas, I mean, look at how they looked to people, and I think they got upset because of how they looked, you know, and how people are talking about them. That's not the production's fault. They were completely neutral. They gave them a fair chance to talk.
Right. Thank you, Anna. I really appreciate it. Here's a question from Anna. What did Mackenzie claim she remembered prior to and after the crash?
Nothing. So she said that she remembers, I don't even know if she said she remembers. Oh, she said she remembers up until the top of the street. And then not until, I don't know when the last thing that she remembers.
Okay.
And I don't recall her saying.
So did you think Dominic was portrayed fairly? You said you thought the documentary was fair. Did you think their portrayal of him was fair?
Of who? Dom?
Dom, yeah.
Fair? No, he was so much more.
Okay, go ahead.
He was so much more than what everybody saw on that net. That was not even a glimpse of who he was. He was smoking and looked like he was dating. That was it. That it doesn't even touch on who he was as an uncle, as a son, as a brother, as a friend, the things he's done good. Like, it doesn't even begin to touch on who he really was at whatsoever.
Were you at the trial?
Yep. Yeah, I was.
And are your parents, I don't even know if your parents are still alive. Were they at the trial?
Yes, they were.
And the rest of the family who
And
could be
every
there?
single one of his friends. There were so many people. People had to sit outside.
Mhm. It's, losing somebody young is a real tragedy. Losing a sibling whenever is really terrible. So, since the trial, since the conviction, where the story has taken off again, and there are people out there who seem to believe some of what is not accurate from what happened at the trial. How do you deal with that?
With like the internet, thinking that
Yeah.
it's I'm honestly sick of it. I guess it's absolutely terrible. I try not to read. I stopped reading comments, but that's easier said than done. And people send things to me, and we've been dealing with this. Don't forget, for 4 years. He'll be dead July 31st. It'll be 4 years. So it's always been a high profile case. They've had other shows. People have talked about it on the internet for years and have had misinformation everywhere. The fact that it's at this scale, and people are running, it's disgusting. Some of these people are absolutely, they're the trashiest people I've ever even heard of. I don't know what kind of person, how the lack of morals and human decency that some of these people have is outrageous. To talk about my brother in the way that they do, mocking him and things like that. It's pathetic.
Did the documentary flame public interest? Had it been at least quieter until the documentary?
Oh yeah, the documentary. I mean, the whole world was talking about it, so that was we couldn't run from it. We couldn't dodge it. We couldn't hide from it. So yeah, that amplified it by about 50 million.
Is it still that high, or is it getting a little quieter now?
When I go on my Facebook to scroll, it's not every single post. It's like every 3. So it's still up there.
Still a lot, yeah. Shirley Bourne says that on another podcast, it was mentioned that Mackenzie did a trial run on the street and knew where to hit the gas big time. Do you know if that's corroborated?
Yeah, it was a fact that she was on the streets prior, but then again, it was a cut through. There could have been, to me, that was never a big deal because, and that's just to me, like they said that she was on the street for reasons that she shouldn't have been or something like that, at certain times, a couple of days within the crash. Now, I know that that's a cut through, so I don't know, the fact that she was on it, maybe by chance, was she plotting it? I'm not sure. That I don't know, but it was talked about at the trial.
RV Reddy wants to know why Mackenzie is not in a maximum security prison.
I wonder the same thing. I'm working with some people to try to get her moved because she absolutely has too much freedom. She's been going on social media. Yeah, way too much freedom. I agree. I don't know either.
Yeah. Well, her freedom isn't really, in one sense, it's not helping her because she's committing all kinds of prison rules violations. And when she comes up for parole, that's one of the things. It's one of the big factors that the parole board looks at. Are you rehabilitated? Can we see that you've acknowledged, you've taken responsibility, that you're a different person? And so far, she doesn't look very different.
No, I think she looks worse.
So are you impelled to see some of that? Would you look on your own if you weren't constantly being reminded as to what she's up to behind bars?
Not at all. I wouldn't. Once in a while, I used to think maybe that she'd write and apologize or something, you know what I'm saying? But that never happened. But besides that, no, I don't think of her or what she does there whatsoever.
Has anyone in the family apologized or expressed remorse or sorrow or sympathy?
No, the second that she got arrested and that we weren't thinking that it was on accident, it's been nothing but bashing our entire family this whole entire time. This started years ago. They got in cahoots with YouTube channels. They started Facebook pages just to bash my family and my deceased brother.
Is there anything you can do about it except sit and...
It's not against the law to bash somebody who's dead. They don't have
reputation rights,
reputation, like anything like that. But for us, I mean, they've pulled like old court records and things like that. To me, there's nothing that they can. But it's my family, so I take offense to all of that. But they've tried to dig up. They were the ones that put out the video of my parents finding out that Dom passed. They were the first people to do that. They got in cahoots with this YouTube channel, and I won't mention their name. And they got them to, show the video of my parents finding out that their son died that second. They did that.
So Murder by Maestro is expressing the sentiments I know of the people in the chat generally, and says he hopes that you know that the voices that lack compassion are not by any means the majority of the people who know about this case and what happened.
Thank you. Yeah, I see that. I do. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's like, the story of the whiteboard with one black spot, and you ask people, what do you see? And everybody sees the spot. It's hard not to focus. I appreciate that. That's what makes it so really awful. So her sentence was 15 years, and she doesn't come up for parole until she serves the 15 years. Is that correct?
I think she might be up a little bit beforehand. I thought. Don't
for time served.
Yeah, don't quote me.
Yeah. And do you think the sentence was fair?
I don't think that she's going to be getting out because of her behavior and who she really is and what she's really done and what she's capable of and how narcissistic and sociopathic she is. I don't think she's ever going to admit to guilt. And with the bashing, there's no way in a parole board's going to let her out. Definitely not her first time. Definitely not her second. I think she's a complete sociopath who cannot, and at this point, I think her reputation's at stake. So she's going to run with, I don't remember forever, I think. And it kind of helps us now that this movie came out and she's got all these followers and people that, think that she's innocent or something like that. I think she's going to try to ride with that for a long time, if not forever. And I don't think she's getting out.
So fair, at least in what the end result will be, even if the initial sentence might have been longer.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if they would have ran it for 30 years and ran the 15 consecutively, I think giving 15 concurrently was kind of, the way we looked at it, because I'm not an attorney, or a judge or a prosecutor, but when I heard 15 ran concurrently, I was doing the math and I'm like, that's 7.5 years for an entire life lost for both of them. 7.5 years. And this messed us up beyond recognition. We're irreparable. Our family is completely gone. We are damaged. We are sad. We are miserable. There's no getting better. So 7.5 years for my brother's life is
not enough.
Not good feeling to think
of
about.
course, nothing is enough. But as I've said before, the law can only do what the law can do. And one of the things the law can't do is bring a life back. But I hear you that you expect the legal system to at least do what it can to acknowledge the loss.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now, Amber, if you're ready, we have a video clip, a question from Megan Tomlinson, whose mother was murdered. And it was an unsolved, uncharged case. And she took a look at it. And much like in some ways, Allison Galvani, a lot of people in the chat know Allison's story about her father, who's now being prosecuted for murdering her mother. Megan went and did her own investigation and pursued until her mother's husband ultimately was charged for that murder. And Megan now has a foundation, and I hope that, Amber, you'll be able to put up the website for that. It's one of the things that she does with her time, victims advocacy and other things. And we asked her if she, coming from the perspective not only of the victim's advocate, but of someone who was and is a victim of a murder, if she had a question or a comment for Christine. And we're going to run that now.
Hi Christine, I'm so excited to meet you tomorrow for the Change the Game for Dom fundraiser in Ohio. And I know you know me, but my name is Megan Tomlinson and my mom was murdered. And I ended up having to solve her case because it was prematurely closed. And in doing that, I started a nonprofit called Silver Lining of Hope because her name was Leslie Hope Houston. And I now help other people going through the same things, which you know because that's how we met, and I helped you get the petition started for Dom and Davion's law. But I wanted to know if you could tell us more about Dom because honestly, I'm sick and tired of hearing about Mackenzie, and I just want to hear about Dom. I'm tired of hearing about Mackenzie and whatever she's up to. I want to learn more about Dom and who he was as a person, and maybe you can tell everyone a little bit about how you've been treated online by so many people and what they can do to help and to just be a more ethical true crime consumer. Thank you. Bye.
That's a great question to ask you about your brother, and also a great suggestion with regard to what people can do to help. So
part of the reason, thank you, Megan, but part of the reason I started my podcast was I really want to bring awareness to true crime and the insensitivity that the internet has towards the victims and the victims' families. I don't care if it's even a little bit of awareness that I bring to the table, but people really need to realize, even though they think that what they're posting or sharing or engaging with is like, I don't know, normal, there's so much insensitive things. I just want people to put themselves in the family's shoes. Would you want to see this about your loved one that's gone? You know, if you have a sibling, imagine. A son, imagine. A nephew, imagine. You know what I'm saying? And if you would like to be scrolling and then see a diagram of his dead body, you know, and how he was found in the car, would you like to see that? You know what I'm saying? Or even just, I want to also bring awareness of like not engaging with these internet trolls that are posting terrible things for attention. Some of these people are posting the most terrible, disgusting things just for a little bit of attention. And it's like, for what? You know, terrible people. But that's my little spiel, and that's why I started the podcast. Was I want to bring, you know, some type of awareness, because true crimes, it's a huge thing. I used to get into true crime before my brother passed. Now I hate it. I used to watch it every day. Now I can't stand it. I want nothing to do with it. But if it means helping, then, you know, that's what I'm going to do. But there's, put yourself in the family's shoes before sharing something or liking something or engaging with something. And then as for my brother, Dom, like I said before, was loved by so many people. He was a great uncle. He was a fun brother. He was loyal. He was kind. He was caring. He was at the births of all of our kids. We were a close family. Every holiday, every birthday, there's him and my son and me. That was on my brother's graduation. The other one was my cousin Johnny's graduation. He was fun, and he was present for everything. Graduations, birthdays, holidays, baptisms. He baptized our kids. We, when you make your commencement, we were together for everything. And he is missed by so many people. He would give the shirt off his back and has helped friends, people in bad spots without asking for anything back. He was just the type of kid, handsome, type of kid who would do anything for anybody. He had a lot going for him. He was ambitious from a young age, even making sure his homework was done and knowing that he had to be something in life, you know, striving to be his best self, even with basketball, you know, working hard at what he was doing. Yeah, and he's unbelievably missed. I don't think this is normal how bad he's missed. I really don't. I don't think that this can't be a normal thing, because there are so many people out there that are so bad off without him. So, yeah.
What were his goals in life? What did he want to do?
He had started a clothing line. He dabbled in stocks and crypto and things like that. He was going to be an entrepreneur. He had just opened up an LLC he wanted to do a clothing line, and then he liked music. He wanted to do something with music too.
Very nice. So this question from Kira Anderson: how many signatures are needed for the Dominic and Davion law? Before we talk about what you need, why don't you tell us about the law that you're trying to get passed?
So what started as the Dom and Davion's law. I started that about a month ago, and then I found out that there was HB 505, which is actually almost the same thing. So HB 505 is it's to modernize the Son of Sam's, but I think it focuses solely, like mostly on crowdfunding. Now, the Son of Sam's law was written in the 70s, enacted in the 90s, and that is stopping violent criminals from profiting off their crimes through journalism, movie deals, and book deals. It's outdated, as is a ton of other laws, you know, but now we have social media, the digital era, you know, and crowdfunding and GoFundMe's and Gives and Goes and OnlyFans and all these platforms that people, you know, that are committing crimes, violent criminals, and coming out and they're making podcasts. And this is not just about Dom and Davion. This is a lot of people have come forward and say this has been happening to them. This happened to them. People do time and then, you know, do something very terrible like murder or rape and then come out and make a podcast, and it's not right. But the HB 505 covers the crowdfunding. We have like 175,000 signatures for the Dom and Davion's law. We're going to piggyback off of HB 505. So when it comes time to, I hope everybody's aware to vote and to write to the senators and things like that. And on the change.org, on the petition of Dom and Davion's law, there are the reps, the Senate reps at least, and there's the House rep that you can write to in support of the law being passed. But basically it's to modernize the Son of Sam's and then to, you know, cover the loopholes that the digital era has brought forward, how, you know, all these criminals, violent criminals only. We're not trying to stop anybody from talking or infringe on their First Amendment. This is solely the profiting part that needs to be stopped.
Yeah, and there's the Sign the Petition website that Amber put up. So that sounds as though you're trying to get federal legislation. Did I hear you correctly?
It's in Ohio. Federal would be great, but right now
You can do Ohio. And so are you planning, I think I saw something where you're planning to move and work in other states. Is that true? Or what's your effort generally?
Right now, I'm just focusing on, I would love to have it heard. Well, Ohio would be great, but if it could get bigger than that, that would be wonderful. If other states wanted to jump on the bandwagon too, that'd be a lot extra work, but I'm all for it. So if anybody else is listening, you know, or any reps or anything want to get in contact, by all means.
Okay. Yeah, I think the laws are outdated in more than just Ohio. It isn't as though legislators every year say, let's look at the statutes we passed a year ago or 5 years, 10 years ago, and what do we need to do? It needs something to, you know, give them the push to take another look, because there's a lot of other things they're doing on their plates. So this is a great start in Ohio. Any of you who can help get this initiative, this act updated in Ohio, that's great. And you also might think about your state and take a look at your law and whether your law is adequate for a victim of crime and what the perpetrator might be able to do to profit off the murder. So I think that's a good thing for, you know, for everybody to think about and look at. So Christine, there was a question I wanted to hear from Megan first before we moved on, but there was a question about Mackenzie's appeals. And let me say that what happened, that's what I'm going to do now, RV ready. What happened, I think last week, maybe, I think, Mackenzie was appealing her criminal conviction. She had tried earlier to get relief, and the Supreme Court of the state, I thought, well, let me take that back. She was trying to do it here to say that the unavailability of the Potts defense really messed up her defense at trial. And she had a year, actually the statute said 365 days to bring the appeal. And Christine, if I'm getting this wrong, interrupt, or if you want to take it and do it and I'll listen, that's also fine.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so 365 days, and her lawyer filed on the 366th day, 1 day out. And the appeal the argument they made was, well, it was only 1 day. And the appellate court and now the state Supreme Court had said it's a statutory requirement, and it says 365 days, and it's 365 days and you missed it. And that's the end of that. So that's the appeal. And as far as direct appeal in Ohio, unless she comes up with newly discovered evidence that wasn't reasonably available at the time, and I can't imagine what that would be, her direct appeals in Ohio are done. Now, some of you may have seen Court TV. Vinnie Politan did a show the other night. He's got that nighttime show now that he does, where he said, that's it for Mackenzie. Now she's got 15 years. If she has 15 years because of her behavior right now in prison, it looks like it's going to be more than that. And I want to at least offer some counter to what he's saying. And this is with regard to federal collateral tax and constitutional claims. The failure to meet a deadline is just such an obvious thing that lawyers should not make mistakes about. And this lawyer did. So I believe her next effort will be to claim she had ineffective assistance of counsel at trial. That led to the failure to file in time. And if her lawyer wasn't good enough, then the failure to file can't be held against her. So I think that's where she's going next. That would be my prediction. My second prediction there is that won't go anywhere, because in order to win on one of those claims, you have to show, one, no reasonably competent attorney would have done what this lawyer did. And there I think she can win, because no reasonably competent attorney is going to miss an appeal deadline, an obvious appeal deadline. But the second thing you have to show is, had it not been for that, the result would have been different. And if the result we're talking about is the verdict at trial, then I don't think it's going to make a whit of difference, for the reasons that Christine already gave, that the evidence was compelling, overwhelming at trial, that there was no Potts defense to be made. So I'm sorry, Christine, I took a long time with that, but that's where that stands. So have you been following the appeals? Have you worried about it as she's been trying to get the case overturned and start over again?
I go to the appeals, the hearings, and yes, it's always in the back of our minds. You never know. There could be any type of weird technicality, I guess. That was something I don't work for the court system. So in my head, it was like, oh, anything can happen, I guess. You see TV shows and things like about something weird happening, but I don't know. I really don't think this last one, like, that got turned over, I wasn't surprised. I was relieved, I guess, for a little bit, and then sad again, because it doesn't, Dom's still gone, Davion's still gone, so it doesn't make us feel better. Nobody's celebrating, but it's nice that we don't have to have that worry or have to go to court and sit with her family again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, but no, I was not. She'll stay in there. She was guilty beyond reasonable doubt, and that's where she'll remain.
Were her parents at the appeals?
Yeah, her family, people, just a very few people show up for her. maybe 5, 6, something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Still has to be difficult.
Not
So
much.
talk to me a little about Davion, because you've been such an advocate and you've really put Dominic front and foremost and given people a picture of what he was like. But we hear less about Davion. What was he like?
I didn't know Davion. I wish I could tell you guys how it was like, but what I can say is that I'm really close with his sister. I love his family. I feel terribly guilty for him being involved. I also want to be careful, when things like this happen. I don't want to I see a lot of comments like, Davion's forgotten or but it's not my place to tell his story or Divine's story or their parents' story. That is not my place. I have heard if he was anything like, the only thing I can say is if he was anything like Divine and Delia, then he was a saint. He was, because they are just the most beautiful, well-mannered, polite, cute, funny, like gorgeous little girls, I wish I had met him. He was a football player. I've sat down with Divine. I just went to dinner with the parents not too long ago. I just sat down with Divine for hours. She's going to come up and hang out with me. In my house up on the island, like we've gotten close and I love that. I wish this never happened. We didn't have to meet this way, but he was, I hear great things about him and cute, funny stories, and it sucks that I didn't get to meet him.
Okay. I read somewhere, maybe you can confirm this, that the family has set up a barber scholarship for him, that he wanted to be a barber.
Yeah, and I guess it stems more than just wanting to be a barber. I guess that like he used to cut the dog's hair and his friends' hairs, you know what I'm saying? Like he would chop the dog's hair off and stuff like that as a young kid. I guess he always liked, cutting hair and things, so he wanted to be a barber. And yes, they have a foundation to pay for tuition for people to go to barber school.
So Amber, I don't know, can we find the foundation website for him and let the people in the chat know if if they want to contribute something, where they can do it?
Yep.
I think that would be kind of nice if we can find it. Here we go. She's wonderful. So there's the other for Davion. So I have one final question for you. There may be others in the chat who have questions, and that is the victims advocates who states provide, counties provide for victims' families at trial. When you're doing appeals, is there still a victims advocate provided to you, or are you on your own at that point?
I don't think so. No, I do remember the one through the trial. And then again, don't forget there was like a ton of news people trying to get in, and there were strangers at one point. There were some strangers trying to get in to the trial. But yeah, I remember call the victims advocate. There is not no, I've never seen her there, so I don't think there's a victims advocate in Ohio. There was another piece of information. Becky's my cousin and my co-host on the Big Sister Unhinged. I have my own podcast, and she did put something in here that struck a bell. I did want to say that attorney that everybody talks about, her parents say was so terrible and he was a paid attorney that they sought out and retained and things like that. And it wasn't until she lost, all of a sudden they were trying to blame him for ineffective counsel. And actually at one point, I think he even says that the attorney said, just blame it on me, or just say it was, an ineffective thing. So there's so much. And I really think that the misinformation on the internet is coming from them, the Shirillas. Like I said, right after the conviction, they created Facebook pages and have ran rampant with misinformation and, the bashing of my family and all these conspiracy theories. It all starts from them. So I blame them. And, the worst part is that's why I cannot wait to go to these parole hearings and to describe what it's been like for our family, instead of just saying, hey, she did this, we're sorry. We lost him. Nothing, none of that. It's just they have tried to make us all look bad, and we lost him. Like it's unbelievable. It's sad. It's unreal. It's like I live in a big long nightmare.
Yeah, well, sorry about that. So you're taking notes as we go forward?
Oh yeah, there's lots of notes being taken, and there's no coming back from a lot of these things.
Mm.
The parole board will not. It'll be a long time before she gets out.
But you'll be ready.
Oh yeah, we got.
So tell us a little about your podcast. And Amber, if there are questions in the chat, I hope, Christine, you have another couple of minutes and can take a couple. But tell us more about your podcast and what you're doing.
I started it for several reasons. My podcast is The Big Sister Unhinged. It started as I knew before this Netflix movie was going, to come out. I had a feeling about how big it was going to be. So in light of it, as I said before, my family had been struggling for years with battling the trolls and the misinformations put out by them. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that with the Netflix movie coming out, I needed a bigger platform. So then I started the podcast. I started my social media. Our episodes are on YouTube, yada, yada. But then it blossomed into there's so many other things that I can do with this podcast. Not only was it to stop misinformation, something as simple as their age gap, things like that. But I can also stop misinformation. I can help other people, by sharing their petitions and their platforms. Like Megan, you met tonight. I'm sharing her GoFundMes and her foundations and things like that. But it was also to raise awareness for domestic violence in teens. I plan to go high school to high school doing that. So I'm working on that as well. I started a petition, it has almost 200,000 signatures already. I want to raise awareness for, the victims, the victims' families behind these viral victims that they call them viral victims. And I don't know, have an etiquette class or something like that, just on how to act on the internet. I started the podcast for so many things, and it's kind of blossomed into all of these things. I started a foundation for Dom, the Change the Game Foundation, where I'm going to be helping underprivileged kids play basketball, because that was one of our big things. I went to all his games, and it was a big thing. Lots of memories with Dom at the rec center. But I want to give back to the underprivileged kids, and I'm going to start a line of sports equipment in his honor, in his name. So I'm working on all these things at once. But yes, the podcast, and then I'm taking other people now, because I want to get like everybody agrees, we're all sick of hearing her name. I want to move past. I start to pivot, into other stories and helping shed light on people that want their stories heard. There's other victims out there that aren't getting the attention that they should be, or things like that, or sharing their petitions or their GoFundMes, people that need help. So I've already started to pivot with having people on mine. I've got a lot of good guests coming on and things like that. So yeah, long story short, that's it.
Well, it's quite a tribute to your brother. Yeah. I know you'd rather not have the tribute and have him here with you, but it's certainly quite a legacy that he's going to have because of your activity. And so
thank you.
You're a great big sister.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry you didn't have more time with him.
It really sucks.
Yeah, I know. So I don't want to end on this note. Are there any other questions? Because the positive out of this is just all the things you are doing. Okay, here's one coming from Marla. Any chance Mackenzie's mother will be charged? Her behavior is suspicious.
I agree. Write the, I don't know who would write the prosecution, or write the prosecutor's office maybe, or who would be in charge with that. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations. I don't think there are on that, but hey, and it's just the way that they've acted that I agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know whether there's any evidence that she was complicit, certainly not in the murder.
After the fact.
But after, yeah. And there are statutes of limitations on things like accessory after and those sorts of things. Yep. Okay, Julie Forever, if the ID network ever offered you a host job, would you take it?
I would. So I used to love true crime, and if it had to do with helping other people, then I would have to say so. I think I like, people have always been shared their trauma with me. You know, what do they call it? Trauma dumping. Everybody, I'm friends with everybody. So I think that that would be a good fit. And I also, I would love that. I would like to help. I might be writing a book. I've talked to some people. I started writing a book before Dom even passed, about my life. I've been through a lot. And then Dom passed, and I had to scratch my book because I'm going to get sad for a second. Hold on. Because it started out talking about my siblings. And so I scratched it. And now I think I want to write another, just about my perspective on everything with him. So
yeah, I wondered about it when you were talking about the notes you're taking, and I was going to ask you whether you would be thinking about doing a memoir,
Yeah.
both to help you deal with it, but also as another tribute to him.
Yep. Yep.
So, okay, Kirsty just said she was sending love from Australia.
Thank you.
Janet for Justice wants to know if the judge explained why he ran the sentences concurrently rather than consecutively.
Her, and I agree with her, her explanation. She did. She said, and she stated at the end of the trial after she sentenced her, and it was that she sees her not getting out, and she could tell, honestly, it was like that judge saw right through her. And now I see what the judge was talking about. It took me a little while, but that judge, she must be a really smart lady because she saw right through her. And she even said after the sentencing, because we're all like, what, 15 years? It was that she will not get out, based off of her behavior and her saying she doesn't remember and things like that. But that judge saw right through her. So she all in all was fair. Would we have liked her to gotten life without, possibility of parole, of course. But I thought it was, now looking back, she had her reasonings, and she'll be in there a very, very long time.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from the chat? Because I know we're at an hour, and I certainly don't want to hold Christine. She's got other things she wants to do, I'm sure. But you got the information about the podcast. Amber, can you put it up once more before we end? For everybody.
One more thing too is I have for everybody listening, I do have Dom and Davion's Law t-shirts and bracelets with the hashtag Dom and Davion's Law. I want to start a movement to have it around the country and around the world. So you can go to my pages and get the link if you're interested, and then the proceeds go to my foundation for Dominic. So
great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I hope that we didn't kind of add to the only word I can think of is Yiddish source.
That was
going through.
Thank you for letting me explain a lot. A lot of these are more, question. So I appreciate it. You're the first one that actually gave me the floor, I guess. And sometimes too, and somebody else had commented, why does Christine say the same stories? Well, there's only so many stories, when talking about the case. And also I have a terrible memory. So and I get nervous behind a camera, but yeah, sometimes I forget, and I'm like, I'm ADD. So I'm like, I forgot. And then after this, I'll be like, oh crap, I should have said that. But
yeah, no, you did fine. And I think, I know it's a sorrow to talk about somebody who's gone, but it's also kind of a joy because what we have now is memories. And if we don't talk, we even don't have the memories. And that I think would be a real tragedy.
Yeah, and I've said that too. That's the one plus size of this. And I even said that when the documentary came out, is that the entire world knows who my brother is, not who he was, because he's so much more than what that documentary was. He was an amazing man, young man, but the whole world knows his name, and I think he deserves nothing less. Of course, everyone would know his name. He was amazing. So,
yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with the foundation, with the sales, with everything you're doing. Certainly with the law that you're trying to get passed to update the Son of Sam laws. I mean, boy, that I think is really an endeavor of the angels to get that done.
Yep. We're working hard. Thank you so much for having me, everybody. Thanks for your comments and your support in the chat. I really do appreciate all you guys. Keep it coming, because
thank you.
We really need it. Thank you, guys.
Okay. So, that's tough to talk to somebody who's lost a family member so young with so much, left to do. And it's hard enough if it's Oh, thank you so much, Peachy Keen. I really appreciate it. It's hard enough when it's, natural causes, but so much worse when it's really avoidable, like this was. And I don't know, when Siobhan Scott was on, I quoted her earlier because I asked her, well, you heard me tell Christine that. I asked her, so what can a parent do or, a friend do to try to ward off? Because once you get into one of these toxic relationships, it is not easy to get out of it, and there's no necessary right answer. There's no expert can say, well, here's the track, because no matter which way you choose, it may be exactly the wrong way for, your predator. And there's really no easy answer to it. And, we can have all the sympathy in the world, and we should and do, but boy, it would be nicer if we could say, and here's the solution so it never happens again. And certainly I don't have an answer. So, but let us go on. We have the question from last time, the highlighted question that we're going to take today, and Amber's picked one from tonight for next time. So if yours isn't tonight's, yours might be next time. So Amber, take it away. Do I think that Wendy has someone in her hip pocket that would keep her from getting arrested? And I think I would say to that, I absolutely do not think so. Number one, in general, I have more faith in the legal system with all its flaws and with all the places where you can point to bad actors. I think it's fundamentally a good system, and the people within it, by and large, are fundamentally good people trying to do a good job. In addition, and just as important a reason here, if Wendy had connections with someone, or Harvey did, or Donna did, I think those connections are long gone, because what's the advantage of helping a convicted murderer, or someone who most of the people who know about the case think should be convicted of murder? There doesn't seem to be some advantage out there. Now, if you're thinking, Clint, about maybe some politician has a skeleton hidden in the closet and that he or she is afraid that Wendy might let it out, I guess it's always possible. I just don't see it here. I think the reasons for them not prosecuting, we did the 10 reasons the other night on my program, are the reasons. I think they thought they needed her to testify in the other trials, and if they needed her, then they weren't going to prosecute her. And I think now it may well be they're afraid that there's some chance that Charlie will get another, a reversal and try it again, and they'll need her again. Now, you can think that that's not a good reason or a good enough reason, and I agree with you. But I don't think that means that they're in anybody's pocket, or that, they're doing something under the table. Yeah, Clint, congratulations. Okay, and this is Kirsty, first time watching. I'm a great interviewer, and the way I hold space is really great. I don't know what that means exactly, but thank you for telling me I'm a good interviewer. Happy that you found me. You will be binging my content. That's good. Hit subscribe, please. At least do that. If you're the first time, then you haven't heard me agonize over the fact that the subscriber list goes slower than, I don't know. My mother used to say molasses, but I've never seen what molasses does, but I'll believe it. Slower than molasses. It just depresses me. Okay. And then Amber is going to remind me about the book club, which I knew that I had to do, but I wanted to give enough priority and attention to the question, the highlighted question today. So, okay, now we're going to announce the book club book. That was kind of a piddly drum roll. We're going to do better. You could barely hear it. I want a huge drum roll, but we'll have to do it because this is our first try at the book club. Okay, so Amber just put it up. The book is going to be The Jersey Shore Thrill Killers. It was suggested by Dorothy W., who also, in fact, gave me the idea of the book club. So we have 2 thank yous for her. It was a book that several other people who commented thought they would like to read. It's a shorter book, and I thought that might be a good thing to do at the start, to do a shorter book. We will wait for, maybe a couple of weeks until everybody has the book. I did look on Amazon. The book you can get it in a Kindle format. They had it new, they had it used. I'm sure you can get it at a library. So there are plenty of places where you can get the book. And right now for this book, when we launch, we will do it at 7:00 Eastern time on a Thursday and go every other week. We'll probably do, depending on the length of the chapters, a couple of chapters at a time. So that's it. The book club book is announced. The Jersey Shore Thrill Killers by Richard Biegenwald. So, ciao a tutti. I'll see you on Friday with another highlighted question. Maybe I'm not going to, there you go. I was going to say, maybe I'm not going to leave.